And we're live. What's up, guys? John Sintes here. Cutternation podcast number 55. Nick Belzer on the podcast. First off, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, mash that like button, share this on social, do whatever you can to help us get this out here. We're excited. We invested a little money. We got the system and the programming working through to get this podcast thing going way easier than we had it before. So without further ado, Nick, why don't you introduce yourself? Let the people at home know who you are and where you come from and how hard you throw.
Of course. So the main question is how hard you throw, right? But yeah. What's up, guys? Cutternation, Nick Belzer here. I grew up in Ankeny, Iowa. I'm from Des Moines area, just an Iowa kid, been Midwest my whole life. Went to junior college out of high school. Then went to a Division II school and then played, Northwoods baseball. And now I'm with the Milwaukee Brewers. So we'll kind of get into my story in a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit about me. And I know Cass because he coached me in summer ball one summer. And yeah, that's how we got our relationship going. And we've been talking ever since. So yeah, we're both kind of doing the same thing now.
This guy talking? No way.
Yeah.
So the summer before I moved to San Diego, I coached in the Northwoods League for the Mankato Moondogs, and Nick was Belz was a veteran on the team.
Yeah, third year.
Opening night starter, and just fantastic dude in the clubhouse. And so we've been talking since I left, and I've tried to keep in touch with a lot of those. That was a special team. Really, that was that triggered a lot of things in me. Like Nathan Hickey, like how about that kid? Like the fact that we couldn't be more opposite, and I love that kid so much. Or like Kenton Cruz, kid's never sworn in his life.
Right.
And then Adam Lucas is throwing BP 99 miles an hour.
Yeah. Funny story about Adam Lucas. The first time I saw him play catch, before he even pitched or anything, he came in and nobody knew who he was. And I saw him play catch, and I was like, man, that guy's arm is just super fluent. I said, I guarantee he's going to throw the hardest on our team. And he goes out there first time out, throws 99. I was like, no way. You could just see it, though. You could see it in his arm.
Dude. And Kyle McDonald, those were some of the best home runs I've ever seen. I told him this. I'm like, if there's one person, and no offense to anybody else in the world, but if there's one person that I wish was a Major League Baseball player, it's Kyle McDonald.
Yeah,
because the fans would love Kyle McDonald. Yep. He's the best.
Yep.
I've never met somebody so locked into a good, solid approach.
Right.
Like he's dynamite, man. He did not care if he went 0-for-4.
And it's not even that. The guys like that, they have the approach, in their mindset going in the game is they don't really care what happens. Like they strike out, they move on from it, they flush stuff quickly. So it's
he played the game.
Nothing affects him. Yeah. So those are the best kind of baseball players that I've played with, are the ones that don't let stuff affect them. Yeah. Just saying screw it instead of taking it personal. You just struck out.
Did you see I went live with Rick the other day?
You did? Ricky D?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
I've been talking to him. Yeah.
So anyway, getting off track, but this is the cool part. I hadn't had this, and I'm going to share a little bit about my side, and then I'm going to let Bells gush a little bit too. Because when we start getting into the Moondogs, I know that there's some pretty strong relationships there. But that was kind of the thing. I had been a Division III coach for 3 years. I'd coached a ton of high school ball, and this was kind of my, I sacrificed a lot to be at the Moondogs. And I was rewarded with one of the most special group of dudes I've ever met. And it was kind of the start of realizing these are the kind of relationships that I need to be fostering as a coach in the future. And so you guys will always be I'll never forget you guys, because I doubt that I'll ever be able to coach in the Northwoods ever again or do something like that. And so you'll all have a very special place in my heart. So anyway, I'm going to be honest right now, because this is going to get you fired up and get you talking. So when I was coaching, Nick, I remember a bullpen up in Duluth where you're like, let's go gun me, and you're 85.
I remember that.
You are pissed.
I took a lot of my lessons
and
about that.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you remember that moment.
Yeah.
And so since that moment, just 97 easy. And just watching you grow, and then us going back and forth has been really fun. because and I'll let you elaborate on it, but Belz does training in Iowa and does a fantastic job with his players. They them far, nothing but good stuff to say. And so make sure to check their stuff out. I'll let you talk about all that stuff. But anyway, it's cool because it's a unique perspective as a professional to be able to train at the same time and train others. Because the way that I've gotten better at throwing is I started training people. So in college, I probably learned more by teaching kids at camps than I did by my coaches. So anyway, John, thanks for your patience there. You're kind of caught up into our little romance here, but Belz, I want you to tell me a little bit about like playing baseball as a kid, because a lot of our kids are SoCal kids and they do not know what it's like to do what baseball in the Midwest is different.
Yep. Baseball in the Midwest as a kid. So baseball season started when baseball season started.
And sports too, because you're playing other sports too.
Yep. There was no catch in the off season. First game of catch was first day of baseball season. And then once baseball season was over, it's football, then basketball. And then I played tennis in my freshman year of high school. Like I just kind of played everything. And baseball was something I never really trained until about sophomore year because I had a guy named Joel Lanning in front of me who was a quarterback. And I knew I wanted to throw something. And I was like, oh, well, can't be quarterback now because he was starting as a freshman. So I was like, oh, now I could go pitch. And I was playing tennis too. I was really good with the racket, just kind of like throwing stuff, and just got into pitching. And then, took off from there and kind of quit every other sport after my sophomore year and dedicated everything to pitching and hopped in Perfect Game, the showcases, like kind of started training year round, all that stuff, like getting my arm into really good shape and like committing to being a pitcher. And that was the difference for me is, that commitment, because before I was kind of all over the place, and then I committed and then put everything into that, and, it kind of paid off for me today. So.
That's interesting that you said you played tennis and you pitched, because I feel like the spin game on both of those are very similar. Yep. So that's I'm sure how old were you when you were doing that?
I was a freshman in high school and I had a kick serve. So they loved my serve. I was on varsity in doubles actually. And it was my first year playing tennis ever, but they just loved my serve because I just had a natural serve, I guess. And I did a kick serve and it was nasty. And they're like, oh, you could play Division I tennis. Like, why are you quitting? Because I told them it was running into baseball season. And I was like, I'm quitting everything, playing baseball. Like, oh, you should play tennis. I'm like, no, I'm just kind of played tennis just to be here, But it was fun.
That's a pure baseball player too. I'm just gonna go win your sport real quick. And bounce.
And I was a little too extroverted for that sport. I did a little grunts and moans, and they didn't like that. They said it's a gentleman's sport. You can't be, slamming it down and yelling at your opponent.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You should. Andre Agassi and Pete Sampras would have something to say about that.
I got yelled at for it. So yeah, it's a
you just do what every ball player does right there too.
Yeah, in the Midwest and compared to Southern California, it's you play 4 different sports. It's season by season. You kind of go along with the weather around here. Down there, you guys have 75 degrees all the time, so you can dedicate yourself to baseball year round because you have that weather. But here, it's more, you got to play basketball in the winter because you can't go outside.
If anybody listens to the Eric Cressy podcast, the episode with Brad Hand is hilarious. Did you listen to it, Belz?
Nope.
So Brad Hand went to Chaska and is my age, and I think he's a year younger than me. And he's just like, yeah, I threw 92, and like I didn't know if I was gonna play, and then I got drafted. Like it's just like crazy. It's he had no idea. Like the Midwest experience is like, and it's not as common anymore, but it's just funny how talent is. It's bred a different way. You know what I heard the other day? I don't know if you've played any hockey, but I'm pretty sure it was Rue. Yeah, Rue at where we rent from, Rue Formans. He said that hockey players have the highest VO2 output, which I think is just like power output.
Lateral output.
Well, just in general, because they move so fast in all directions.
Yeah, that's true.
And so no other athlete can actually just spin around like
I'm
that.
actually very good at ice skating. That makes sense.
Yeah. I played a ton of hockey. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So let's get you to like senior year of high school. What are you doing then?
So actually, I'll go back to sophomore year. So sophomore year, I was just on the sophomore baseball team. Wasn't on varsity yet. I mean, I kind of was the only one who had confidence in myself, like, I'm going to be a pitcher. So I just kind of pitched my balls off my sophomore year, did super well, lost 1 game, and took that game really salty. And junior year, I was like, I'm going to be the best pitcher in the state, like hands down, really trained for it, did perfect game, really dedicated myself. And then junior year is my first year on varsity. and ended up being first team All-State and, pitcher of the year. One state, we went 43-2 as a team. Like, we were just completely dominant. And that's when everything kind of took off for me. I got the offer from Indiana State after that year. And that was just 1 year on varsity. So for kids that are listening to this, it only takes 1 year on varsity to, get looked at the next level. As in taking
what were your numbers
starting
that
as a
year?
freshman. I was 10-0 with a 1.2 ERA, like 100 Ks and
how many innings, how many Ks?
60 innings and 100 Ks.
Oh boy.
Yep.
So that's such a thing to me, by the way. So there's a formula that I haven't heard anybody talk about, and this is something, I want to go into later. So remind me about the strikeout formula of more than one strikeout per inning. So Continue with your story.
Yep. So then after that, junior year, I committed to Indiana State, signed there. Coach Heller was the coach there at the time. And then after that, he eventually went to University of Iowa. He said, follow me, and tried to make that happen. Whatever, one thing turned to another. I ended up going to Kansas State University, then transferred back at semester, went to junior college, and then tore my UCL. So freshman year, 18 years old, tore my UCL, started balling. It's like, what am I going to do? My parents came and told me, it's like, it's torn. It's like, all right, I got this huge road ahead of me. Let's just do it, because really what it comes down to for me in my career is just determining myself and just committing 100% to and believing in myself that I'm going to make it happen, regardless. So go ahead, Cass.
Tell me about how'd you tear it?
So I don't know. I threw a lot of curveballs when I was young. There's a lot of theories I threw in high school. I didn't throw that much before.
This is what I want to know. I want to know the 2 to 3 weeks before you tore it.
Yeah, what were you feeling
before I tore?
Describe.
I felt tug. There was a tug, and then just a little bit of sharpness in my elbow, but it wasn't as sharp as when I actually tore it. It was in the 7th inning. It was like someone stabbed my elbow, then cut off the knife and pulled it out. There's just a knife in your elbow. But at first, it was a little knife, and then it just gradually got bigger over time.
So
that's how I describe it.
Before that game, had you felt anything?
Oh yeah. I knew I had a tear after my junior year of high school. So I was diagnosed with a tear, got an injection, did the rehab, did all that. Senior year was up and down with my health. Couldn't maintain my velocity. I was like, what's going on? And then freshman year, I tore it. And then after that, kind of the best thing that ever happened to me. So I did the rehab, and now I'm healthy.
Were you radar gunned?
Before Tommy John?
I'm just saying, did you get your radar gun readings in high school?
Yeah.
In games and stuff?
Yep. I was 88 to 91 in high school. Showcases, I'd be 91, 93 for an inning.
So that first year that you're on varsity, what were the most was it frequency? You said you thought it was torn after that season. So how frequently were you being pitched?
Every probably 5 to 7 days, but I threw probably 7 innings each start. I think I just threw more than 110 pitches a start every time because I was pitching well.
And then what would you do in between?
In between, and I was in high school, so I didn't have the routine that I have now. But obviously,
so
I would run some pulls, do that kind of thing. But now it's a lot more flush and more routine.
Yeah, and I think so. If you're that
my routine definitely lacked.
Unless you're I think the thing is in those environments, just putting it out there. I really feel the only way you can do that is you have to have naturally perfect mechanics, and nobody really does that. That really doesn't happen until you get older. So you just have to have somebody around you that can help you. It's crazy, man. It's a different world because 60 innings isn't that much, but it's just it's all relative. It depends on what your workload was before, how you were recovering in between. Were you sleeping? And usually summer in the Midwest is we play baseball and then we're going to the lake. And we're going and we're going. So maybe that's a thing, but by the way, that might not be, maybe we were recovering well because we were wakeboarding or tubing or fishing, maybe just the active lifestyle. So who knows? It's super complicated, but anyway, the moral of the story is it was pretty bad for a while and we just couldn't solve the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And then after surgery, the adjustments I made were cleaning up my arm action was the first thing because I was really jabby. I like to do a lot out of my glove. So right when I would separate my hands, I'd try to throw the ball right away. And I ended up doing a lot of movement back here before my arm was even up. So I'd be throwing twice is what I felt like, because I was really jabby back there. And then I smoothed that out. So when I got up to my launch position, that's kind of what I was worried about, is just smoothing things out, slowing it down, and just kind of staying in my hips and not trying to, create everything as much as just, transfer it.
Well, but this is more recently. So I want you to because I want you to, dude, you have a good story. So like talk about Mankato, talk about the Moondogs, talk about with the Saints, and then the transit.
So college.
Yeah, walk us through it.
We'll talk mechanics and stuff at the end. Yeah.
So college, I was a push and go type of guy. I'd push down my back leg, I'd rip it, just try to throw hard, and I would just try to throw really hard curveballs. I never had a change up in college. I was always fast curve. I was one of them. Went to a great school.
Went to DMAC. You went to DMAC, and then you went to Mankato.
But I had great pitchers around me. My staff around me was great. We won when I wasn't pitching. It was perfect. Like there was no ace really. Like we all won. You know what I mean? It was a good team, good staff. But anyways, went to DMAC. We had a great staff there, and then went to MSU, great staff there. But the whole time, I never really got coached in a way that I could maintain my own mechanics. So
did you play with Shebler?
No, he's way before me.
Yeah, he's way older. Yeah, that's Buck. Yeah, that's Buck. Okay.
So what I mean by that is, a coach doesn't really tell you how to interpret your own mechanics, so you don't know how to maintain them throughout the whole season. So at first you might be all riled up. It's first game of the year. You're just throwing hard. And then third game of the year, you're like, wow, I'm getting a little sore. My mechanics are lacking a little bit. Like what's going on? My velo's dropping. And you don't have that awareness to be like, oh, this is kind of what's happening. Or like, this is where I'm at when I'm feeling good. Like these are the things that I do. You don't really get that direction in college. It's kind of on your own. And I wish I would have coached before college, because now I see the direction that you're supposed to take and the routine and, the video analysis and all that stuff that's beneficial to players now that I should have used when I was in college. It would have helped me a lot more, but I have it now, so we're all good. But
you do the best that you can at the time,
back in college, I was definitely a push and go type of guy, just an athlete on the mound. That's how I would describe myself.
Hey, back in college, we didn't have any radar guns.
Exactly. Yeah.
Our scouting reports were weird emails that we somehow got from somebody.
You just ripped it. Yep.
And then you found out what they thought of you too, and you're like, oh, interesting.
Wow. Weird.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
it's just weird. Just weird how it's all evolved.
Okay, so you're at Mankato, and then Northwoods. Tell me about your first summer at the Northwoods.
So first summer at the Northwoods was actually in Wisconsin Rapids Rafters. It was right after DMAC. I was committed to University of Hawaii. I didn't end up going there because I had 2.3 GPA, but now they changed the rule, so it's 2.0 to be eligible for D1 now. So I would have been eligible back then. But then that's why I went to Minnesota State, because I'd be eligible to play baseball. It was 2.0 there. So I ended up going to MSU. But after that, summer with DMAC, I was after my surgery. I was feeling good. Right after surgery, I was like, low 90s. I threw in front of Hawaii. They offered me, put me on a visit and all that stuff. So, surgery went great and all that rehab came back fine. And then after that, I went and played Northwoods in Wisconsin.
Okay, hold on. You can't go over these big things. Return to throw. We're throwing, guys. Okay, so tomorrow we're gonna have Weston Germain on, and oh my gosh, Jamie. I don't know her last name, how to say it. So Weston and Jamie, and they're gonna be talking about return to throwing programs. So
yeah, and that's a whole. I can't even bring up Tommy John because that's a whole nother topic of how I got back from it.
Yeah, I want to know.
Why can't?
What do you guys want?
Why can't you bring it up?
Because the protocol and because you probably had the old school way of coming back.
Too.
Let me give you. Yeah, I was gonna say. Okay, me too. I had my elbow done by Ostrander.
I'll tell you exactly how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, I went through 4 different physical therapy centers, them included.
People need to know.
Yeah, I went through 4 different ones before I ended up going back to the guy that did my knee. And then the only reason why I went back to him was because my uncle worked with him with the Virginia Braves in like the 80s. And so he has just been around baseball guys. Yeah. And then all I started doing was just asking questions. So those conversations we were talking about, the details into the discrepancies, as I would like to say.
Right.
Because I had many of issues.
That's a whole nother avenue, because I know a lot of kids that, have torn their UCL and they're thinking about getting surgery. Like, where do I go? And it's just like, they don't understand it's a baseball specific surgery. Although it's an ACL tear, technically in your elbow, it takes a baseball specialist type surgeon to really get it right. I feel like, because I've seen it done, where it's jagged scars and guys are hurt after 8 months, and like, it feels like something just wasn't done correctly. And if you're going to get it done, you need to get it done like completely right, and make sure that you're confident in the guy that's doing it. That'd be my advice for that. And the rehab takes care of itself. You just need the surgery done right.
So then the rehab though, was it how many throws? Was it the 45 feet? Like, who was it? Was it on your own? Who helped you?
So my rehab, it started from the day after surgery. He said, try to move your arm full motion. Like, I was never locked up in my brace from the day after surgery. And every day I would just try to move it more and more, try and get my range of motion back. And then once I got that back, then it was on to the next step. It was kind of dependent on how fast I was developing on it, and not just dependent on the program. That's what was good about it. So it was dependent on me. If I want to take a day off, then I could take a day off. Like, I took plenty of days off, and guys are like, "What are you doing today?" I'm like, "Nothing. Like, I don't feel good." They're like, "Okay." And it's like, and I get back after it tomorrow, and it's just like, that's kind of how it works. You listen to your body, and then the program kind of follows you instead of you following the program. It just kind of gives you the guidelines to do it.
It's a good way to say
it. Follows you. Yeah, you follow how you feel, but you get all the work in, obviously. But it's more, you're not following the program like, oh, I have to do this today. It's just like more. It puts it in perspective too.
Like a timeline in your head, like, oh, I want to be healthy in 9 months, and then you're like, oh, frick, I don't feel good. And
see, no, I didn't, because I had time. I was at a JUCO. I just tore it freshman year, so I knew I was going to be out at least a year or two, because I tore it in the first part of the season, and I didn't get my surgery till June. So I got surgery in summer, so I was going to miss the whole next year and maybe the next year after that.
Why did you wait so long?
Because I went into Andrews and tried to get it done. He didn't know who I was. I was a JUCO kid trying to get it done. I was trying to get it done right. Yeah, I did. I was on a waiting list.
Yeah, I was on. Yeah, well, it took
but
me
it was
like
worth it.
4.5 months for me to get.
But I'll send him a jersey someday and be like, "Hey, I was on your waiting list, but here's a signed jersey you can put up in your office." Because he had a bunch of jerseys in there. I remember him. He was a good guy.
Which facility did you go to? The one in Alabama or the one in?
One in Florida, Pensacola.
Yeah,
we drove all the way down there. Yeah, rented a van.
From.
Really, you're from Pensacola?
Yeah, well, that's where I went to school. I went to school there, and I'm from like an hour from there, Fort Walton Beach.
It's a super nice area. Super nice. I loved it.
Not a baseball area.
No, no. There's a Pensacola Blue Wahoos there.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, as far as like what I grew up with and everything, ours was very Midwesty. It was very seasonal. You followed everything. We didn't have any major universities or anybody leading the
right. It's kind of
closest baseball clinic I went to was like Florida State or Florida and stuff.
It feels like it's kind of on an island out there.
Dude, I went to Southwest State. That's where I went to baseball camps. 2.5 hours down to see Coach Blanchard.
Okay.
God bless his soul. I'll put it that way.
But yeah, I mean, I'll relate that physical therapy to throwing in general. Like, it's more listening to your body and what you can do that day, instead of following this program and thinking, oh, I'm going to be back in 9 months, or I'm going to hit 90 in a week. Like, it's more progression instead of, oh, I need this goal right now and I need to obtain it. I wrote some down. It's like obtained versus developed is one of the main things that I talk about with my kids. It's like, in order to obtain something, you have to develop it. Like, you can't get frustrated in the development stages of trying to obtain something. So it's just kind of having that vision of just being patient enough to go day by day and see the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly.
Have you done any research on skill development?
I mean, I read one book on like the mental game of baseball and some on skill development, but other than that, not really. I haven't done much research.
It sounds like you would like that. Randy Sullivan's got some good stuff on that, on some information on his website. I think he has
send me some stuff to look at for sure.
See what I can find, but there's a bunch of people that have written some research about all kinds of topics, from like skill development of video games and how people become these masters of these games, really, and then like chess masters. And I want to say it's like that a chess master is like a level, and then like it's your chess master because you can prove that you have like over 1 million games memorized or something crazy like that. It's like,
right.
And so I take that skill and look at those combinations with the video game of like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, like what I grew up with, and understanding like sequencing and patterns and apply that to pitching. And that's where you can have a really fun game and understand like how much thought is going into what you're trying to do and
Yes.
how you're trying to spin the ball and what you're trying to do with it.
Yeah, and how you work on your skill in baseball is just playing catch. That's one thing I've always been good at ever since high school. Is I always took a lot of pride in my catch. Like every throw was like I need to hit him in the chest. I needed perfect spin. Like not necessarily perfect spin back then, but now I think perfect spin. But back then it was more I need to do my mechanics right, like get out front, like put everything into this throw. And I did that repeatedly for 9 years in a row. And I never took a day off of catch. And I feel like that's what kind of helped me out in the end more than anything.
That's a great point.
So had some success in the Northwoods, had some success at Mankato State, and then you got your shot with the Saints. So let's jump into that.
So after
Minnesota State. Let's go real slow now with this. Like game by game if you want to. And think about it. He was just talking about sequencing. So that's why I want to think about it like you had to learn how to pitch a little bit.
Yep. I'm a very brief storyteller. I don't like to go in much detail. So
I know I'm helping you.
Yep. Just
I'm nudging you along
a little bit. Okay. So after MSU didn't get drafted, things didn't go my way. Went to Mankato one more time and I was like, oh, maybe I'll go play for the Saints then. And then at that time, their roster was full. They didn't need me. So I went home, started a landscaping job, was doing landscaping during the day, and I was coaching at night. Wasn't really playing at that time, wasn't throwing. I just graduated college. And then me and my buddy, I just started playing catch again. I was like, man, I'm going to give this another shot. Like, I'm just going to start throwing. So I quit my landscaping job and, just did lessons and threw during the day and then coached at night. So I was just throwing all day, coaching all night for all last year. And then eventually we put a gun on it. And, I posted the first video I've ever posted. I'm not big on social media, but posted the first video and it was, 96, whatever. And after that, I got a chance.
That was the first time you got on the gun?
Yep. First time I pulled out the gun was 96. And I was just throwing with Tanner. We were just researching like pitching mechanics every night, like staying after work 2 hours, like till midnight, just sitting there. Like talking, just having a conversation about mechanics. That's really all it was. And then pulled out the gun was 96 and then went up to St. Paul, tried out for the team, threw a bullpen. They liked it. Got a chance at camp. Wasn't signed with the team yet. Got a chance at camp though. I was like, yes, I want to be in St. Paul. Got a chance at camp and did well there, took pride in catch, blah, blah, blah. Just being a good teammate, all that. All the things you got to do to make it in baseball, but did that and then got signed to the team.
So is it fair to say, though, that you all of a sudden started taking things a little bit more seriously at this point?
I feel like I always practiced serious in college, though. I always practiced and played serious and played serious.
You trimmed some fat in your life.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so what I tell people, so this is what
I saw the coaching aspect of it, and I just became a better player once I went to St. Paul training camp. I was like, this is what coaches want to see. This is what I expect from players. Like, I need to, be that guy every day. Like, there's no days off.
Professional.
Yes, be a professional. And that's what I learned most in St. Paul is how to be a pro. They all talked about that every day, how to be a pro, act like a pro. And I had no idea. I was coming from D2, like, wasn't packing enough socks on my road trips, like, walk around the lobby barefoot, getting yelled at. It's like, just rookie mistakes like that. But yeah, I learned a lot there in the short time I was there. So I got to St. Paul.
Part of it. It's a total part of it.
Yep. I'll keep going after that. Got through training camp, did well. Threw live against hitters, was kind of pulling off a little bit, but was throwing hard and, kind of showed some good stuff and ended up the season started through an exhibition game against Sioux City Explorers, one of the best teams in that league. First professional start. First hit I gave up was a 0-2 home run, 96 up and in to the MVP of the league last year on a broken bat. He splintered his bat and hit a home run on me. That was my first professional home run that I ever gave up, was a broken bat. So that was like, welcome to pro ball. Like, I just threw my pitch 96 up and into a lefty and he broke his bat and hit it out. So that was a good thing that was an exhibition game because that didn't go against Mayor A. But then after that, I got a chance to start in the rotation.
It's funny how you count that. Like, I would totally, I'm like, that doesn't count. It's not in a season, doesn't count. By the way, been there, gave up back-to-back broken bat home runs in the Vegas League. So,
I tell people that, they're like, no way that happens. I'm like, yeah, it happens.
My situation is completely different. 13U field, 6,700 feet elevation, and there were holes in the fence. If it went through the fence, it was a home run, which we were confused at because of the yellow line also. So,
and it's funny because I was watching the team take BP before the game a little bit too, and I saw the guy that hit a home run off me. He's a stud, Jose Sermo. Shout out Jose Sermo. He's a good dude. But yeah, after that, I ended up getting a spot in the rotation. It was great. I was with Medina, Dustin Crenshaw. Crenshaw. He was a great dude. He was like one of my best friends there. He kind of took me under his wing, was my veteran. You know, I was a rookie. He was a vet. Kind of sat by him on the bus. I played against
him in Mexico.
Really, Crenshaw? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a great dude. Shout out Crenshaw too. Yeah, he took me under his wing, showed me some workouts, like a routine to do from, you know, between starts, because I was on a 5-day rotation. I've never been on a 5-day rotation before, so I was going to come quick, and he was kind of explaining that to me, and he took me under my wing for that. So thank you to Crenshaw for teaching me a routine, because that's what I really needed. That was the difference between college and professional. And maintaining velocity, maintaining my stuff was the routine between my start. Like in college, I would lift, you know, you would have to lift as a routine. It wasn't like a baseball specific, pitching specific routine. And that's what I learned to do on my own for professional baseball. And that's
as a fellow D2 guy myself, I totally understand what you're saying. There's lack of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I love specialized training, like Cutternation or anything like that. Is like you're getting in there to throw a baseball. Like you're not going in there to bench press or, you know, learn how to tackle somebody, like learn how to use your lower back. It's like, no, we're learning how to throw. And that's the difference now.
I want to throw with you right now.
I know. I need to come down there and play catch, stupid coronavirus.
Well, we'll figure it out. I mean, hey, San Diego is not terrible. You talked about it earlier, so
I'm just quarantined. I might just hop in my car and I'll be there in 24 hours.
So you got a phone call, Nick Belzer. You're not going to play for the Saints anymore.
Yeah. So actually, I went 5 starts in St. Paul. Did well there. Had a great defense behind me. Shout out my defense. My goodness, I just threw it over the plate, let them play D. That was it. I had great numbers. Had like a 1.23 ERA after 5 starts. Like.
What year was this?
This summer with St. Paul, or last summer.
Was Benji Waite with you?
No, I didn't meet him. No.
I think he was there the year before when they won it.
Oh, okay. No, I was there when they won.
No, so then it was the year before that. I don't remember where he was. Maybe it was he was actually. I think Benji was with Fargo then.
Okay, gotcha.
Anyway.
But yeah, I ended up playing there 5 starts, and then we were going up to Canada, and I was like, shoot, I don't have my passport. And I went up to my coach. I was like, I don't have my passport. He's like,
George?
No, I went up to the assistant coach first, and then we went to George all together. And like, yeah, he doesn't have his passport. He's like, oh, just go home and get it. He's like, you're fine. He said, you got time until you start, because he knew I had a facility back here, so I would throw if I went home. And I ended up going home, and I get a call from George. He's like, hey, he said, no need to come back. He's like, Brewers purchased your contract. And he's like, you're probably getting sent to Arizona. I was like, all right, sweet. And that was it. And I hopped on a plane and went to Arizona.
You didn't even get to say bye to your boys or anybody.
I actually did. I drove back up to move back out of my apartment, so I did get to say bye to everybody.
Well, that's
really
good.
nice.
That's good. I got traded on a road trip one time. And
it
was
really?
Gnarly. Yeah. I was
sucks.
like, how do I get anything? Like, where do I
see you later?
And I'm in Mexico, so it's not even close to being fun.
Oh man.
You know, I'm like, wait, you're gonna send my stuff to me where? Like, I don't even know where I'm going.
Yep.
Anyway. Yep. And then so now you're a Brewer.
I was a Brewer, yep. And, you know, independent ball compared to summer ball, I would say, you know, independent ball is thrown against AA, AAA hitters. And the pitching was a little different. You go down to rookie ball, and it's, you know, guys are swinging out of their shoes every pitch. They're not really picking pitches like they would if they were a AA, AAA type hitter. So it's kind of a different speed for that comparison. But, yeah, I went down to summer ball, did well down there, thankfully, because everyone just swing away in rookie ball, and did well there and just had fun. It was 120 degrees every day. Just embraced it, and, you know, dream, you know, just keep going and keep chasing it. You know, not
sounds like it was
yet.
Easier to you, like when the difference of when you were in when.
Yeah, I don't want to say that, but yeah, I mean, yeah.
No, I totally. I think that's a respectful thing to say, because like the American Association is legit.
Yeah, because I mean? You know, the difference was I would throw a 2-0 changeup down in Arizona, and they would swing out of their shoes at it, because, you know, they're like 2-0. I'm swinging away 2-0 changeup. You know, up in St. Paul would probably get hit as a single. or like,
Yeah.
they get a good piece of it. It was
Yeah,
just
you
like
know,
different
Pride,
approach.
still
Like I
have
couldn't
barely
beat
hope.
him the way I could in summer ball.
Exactly. Yeah, we're talking strategy for sure.
And that's how you level up, double A, triple A hitters too, is they're picking pitches and it's, throwing against what they're guessing. That's what it comes down to. But yeah, just having the arsenal to do that, that's a whole nother conversation. But that was a big difference there. But I'll tell you what, when you get down to pro ball, it's all about stuff. It's all about the, Rapsodo, Edgertronic, all that technology that everyone's using nowadays. Data is huge now. I'll attest to that. And that's something that I use too in my training. And I think about the pitch logic baseball. When you're going to send me one, I need one.
Well, thank you. I'll put you on my list right now.
Please send me one. I really do need one, honestly.
Yeah.
My coaches want to see
I got a meeting with some people today. So yeah,
shout out Pitch Logic.
Let me do what I can. Let me see. Let me tell you why I like it, honestly. And you being a numbers guy and like this over here, we have it screen mirrored to our Apple TV, and all of our drill work gives us spin data with the.
I know. I see it. I'm just like, oh my goodness! Like, please let me go there.
Yeah. I'll definitely put in a good word, and we'll talk some stuff after this and everything. Okay. So with the Brewers, Jared Gaynor, does that name?
No.
Twins. Twins? My bad. He was with the Twins. He's an analyst with the Twins. I thought he was with the Brewers.
Okay.
Anyway, I figured when you said all the spin stuff. So what do the Brewers? I'm sorry. What do the Brewers ask of you as far as your spin data and all of this stuff? Are you allowed to talk about that, or?
I mean, I'll just talk in general about it. It depends on what kind of arsenal you have. If you're a four-seam pitcher, obviously you're trying to get that vertical break. If you're a two-seam guy, you're trying to get that sink and that horizontal run a little bit. So it just depends on, you go in with your arsenal and they see it and they say, oh, okay, that's a four-seam and it's at 2:00 right now. But if it was at 1, it would increase your efficiency and your vertical breaks. Like, that's just an adjustment that data can make for you, or seeing it on a Rapsodo. It's just kind of like the clock on where to, release it. That's going to give you that vertical break instead of being at 2:00 or 3. And then you throw your change up and it's like, that needs to be at 3 to get the most, bite on it, or the most depth, because if that circle's on top of the ball, it's going to sink. But if it's on the side and you're throwing at 1:00, it's just going to run.
Yes.
So that's where that data comes into play, and the technology. I just love it. First time I went down there last year, I was their first rookie to ever be in the lab down in Arizona. And now they're doing it with everybody because the lab session went so great, because I saw that right away and I made the adjustment, and it was like, I did it in that bullpen and it was like boom, boom. And after that, it was just, I hit the ground running because I knew what I was trying to do with my pitches, because I never saw that before. Yeah.
And that's why your catch play with the pitch logic could get fun too. Because
yes, if I have that every day, it's game over. Give me that, please. Pitch logic. Let's go.
Yeah, sure.
You would send me that.
I'm joking around. I'm a humble guy. But
no, but those are the conversations that I was having with them. I was like, you don't understand what this is.
It's a huge advantage.
Catch play. Oh man, I can't even tell you the conversations we're having that you're gonna go, what? I know.
Mm-hmm.
So you had sent me some of the feedback they had given you, and when we go to the coaches convention, when we just kind of like, if you pay attention to what's going on, just in general, right? The big challenge is, okay, we have these numbers, and then how do we disseminate that to the players? So obviously the spin stuff is actually pretty intuitive, right? So it's not, you don't have to overthink some of that stuff. It's right. Like you just said, we can just put it into our catch plays. But then there's going to be other things like, okay, when should we be throwing these pitches against which kind of swings? And then it's going to go a lot further on that. And that's where I think it's going to be interesting in, how, really the art of that. That's literally the art of pitching has changed, right?
Yeah.
Because we have so much more objective information there.
Yes, I would have to agree. I mean,
how are your coaches, like the people in the dugouts? Like, what's that like from the professional side of it? Do they have iPads? Like, is this?
Oh yeah, there's TrackMan for every field you go at in rookie ball, and they have a little iPad there. They see the spin of every pitch, all the exit.
Can you access that information during the game?
Yep.
Oh, dude,
it's
if I could see spin data in the dugout in between innings, you can
your whole
fix
staff.
Stuff.
You can see your whole staff.
Like, oh, dude, that's awesome.
Every pitch of the game. Yep. Yeah, they have an iPad sitting there with spin rate.
Because you could come in and fix things quickly.
Yeah, but they don't. They obviously don't talk to you about it. It's just for them. Like they look at it, but
they don't get to show you.
Yeah. But I'm saying like you though, like you. Let's say you're talking about exactly the same.
For me, no, I don't see
side spin.
Can you see?
But can you see it? Why can't you?
Oh, I could go up to my coaches, but I never did because I didn't want to be in their ear when I'm pitching a game. I'm sitting on the bench about to go off for another inning. I'm not talking to my coach. Like, I'm not looking at my coach in between innings. I'm not really.
But in the same sense, you could definitely, if there was something that happened, right? Let's say something didn't do what it was supposed to. What I'm saying is, you could go back and be like, "What was that?" And then saw that.
I don't think it's to that level yet because as a rookie at that time, because the only reason I was the only one who went in the lab was because they didn't want to mess with people's heads. It's like, I need this curveball to be at 12, 6 o'clock. And then I started thinking about that.
I've been telling him for a while now that
that's in pro ball,
the technology of golf, right? So that I wonder if that's a thing in the big leagues. I don't know. Or if it's a rule, especially now with what the Astros did. Like, I'm sure there's going to be so many more rules with technology limitations and stuff that,
Yep.
But what I was telling him is like with golf, right? As soon as the ball's hit, like golf is the opposite. They give away all the data. Like they want everybody to have it, right? On everything. And so I remember seeing a shot the other day and it had the streamer on the ball. It had the spin rate, the direction, the force that it was impacted by, the velocity of the club, the velocity by the ball. Like there was just all of this little cool stuff on the side of the screen, like right over here. Just chilling.
Every time someone throws a ball, it should show that on TV.
100%. So I was just watching Japan the other day and they're playing and there's nobody in the stadium. And after every pitch, because you don't have a lot to talk about now, right? After every pitch, they just cut to slow motion right to it right away.
That's awesome.
And it's like a 10-second. It starts at like Pitch Ninja, where it's like the grip, and then it releases, and then it goes all the way to the ball. Right?
That's amazing.
And exactly right. So if we have the camera and we have the technology, all we have to do is blend these two ideas. And now us nerds that enjoy seeing this stuff, like, could you imagine seeing Rose slider for the Tampa, and it being like 3,800 and everybody on TV freaking out, and then it's on Twitter in 8 seconds,
just super slowed down. It's like it makes people appreciate the game a little more.
100%,
just seeing it like that.
100%. Because we all know how hard it is to do it.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I don't think people are understanding is like it is so hard to spin a baseball in a game against a big leaguer and execute the idea at whatever thing you're trying to do.
Right. Yep.
Yep.
One of the hardest things in sports to do.
The risk reward to everything is just so high. As you can tell,
golf is
for sure.
Too.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. But I'm just stuck, the appreciation side. It was definitely a good point. I think that's more what I was, because I just don't. I agree with you. I think people think this shit's easy. And it's like I played with 5 guys that threw 100 when I was in Mexico, and every time I had a chance to watch them throw, I would go there, and every one of them threw differently. Every one of them had different arm pass and loading positions, and there were things that they did after their load and stuff that were interesting that I'm sure you've seen with the Brewers too.
And I'm going to jump straight into another point with that. One thing that's huge for baseball players is learning from other people in games, being locked in the dugout. That's one thing that developed from college to professional baseball for me. Was in college, I wasn't really looking at the game as much as I am in pro ball. I'm watching every pitcher, how they're doing, what they're throwing, every hitter swing, like just analyzing the game at a higher level. Is something that kids can do more, or even act like they're doing it, like really pay attention to the game. That's going to help. That's something easy to do instead of just messing around in the dugout or like not really paying attention to the game.
This is where I come from.
That's how you learn.
From a coach is it's our responsibility as the coaches to start inspiring kids to do these things. Right. So, and this is one thing that I've been leaning into John a lot about. And I don't know that I'm like gonna like trademark this idea, but I think even just an idea of like, what if you just taught people 3 pitch sequences, right? Because a lot of at-bats can be done in 3 pitches, and we would sure like that if at-bats were done in 3 pitches. So, and if you knew how to get to those counts, it's not too challenging to know what to do in an 0-2 count. It's not too challenging to know what to do in a 1-2 count, right? So in those scenarios, I just haven't, like, you're definitely not hearing coaches make that simple in Minnesota. Right. And I think it's a little intimidating because, of course, you can't know exactly how to pitch somebody, just like you can't know exactly how you're going to get pitched. But quit underestimating how simple it can be at times. Because like you said, a 2-0 changeup can be effective at almost the highest level.
Yeah.
Right. And it can be at the highest level in the right context. Right.
Yep.
You know, and so we've talked to other people about like how you swing like your personality, you pitch like your personality. Right. And so you're just starting to go like, hey, I'm going to watch everybody. I'm going to learn these people. I'm going to learn like when they do this with their face, that, you know, like that's what professional baseball is. It's life and death. So if I can gain an advantage on you, I'm going to do it. And so that's where baseball players become like ninjas in that way, because the guys that are actually thinking about it like that and playing that game, it's literally a different game. And so my point,
for your job, it's
right.
Yeah.
And so my point is this: all kids need to know is that's how you do it, right?
Yeah.
Hey, when you're watching kids, fastball, right? Why? We have kids that can throw little cutters. It doesn't have to move a ton. You can throw like change up, like, and obviously down here it's a little different, but it's just, gosh, we gotta keep making it fun. We gotta keep making it appropriate. And okay. So we're getting towards the end of our hour. I want to try to keep these under an hour as we go through this.
That's fine.
To be respectful for you and us.
Right.
What do you want to tell us about your velocity development, going from that day I saw you at 85 to where you're just easy 97? Here's your tell us all.
Okay.
You need to know.
So velocity, my main thing that I tell kids is, you know, created versus transferred. You know, timing and all that stuff, that's on my velocity card too. That's all great. But I feel like creating energy versus transferring it is a huge thing that I learned that helped me maintain my velocity and, you know, throw harder than I ever did. So what I mean by that is creative versus transferred. So before I would really drop down to my back leg right over the rubber. That would be my first move when I was on the mound. So therefore I wouldn't get anywhere. So I'd be pushing off that back leg, throwing from the rubber, and I'd be all arm, and I'd just trying to rip it in there. What I call like dip and rip type throwing, which is not what you guys do. You guys move forward. It's momentum and all that stuff comes into play. It has nothing to do with anything. But anyways, that's what I used to do, is dip and rip.
It has to do with everything, by the way. It has the don't discredit. Like you
know
thought
what I mean?
that was in that 100%. It's drop and drive. It's all the same. And by the way, there are guys that throw that way. And still throw hard, right?
Yep.
And I think the greatest thing that I want to just identify small right there is that you realized it didn't work. That's
for
the
me
only
personally.
thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. 100%.
Yes.
You personally,
yes.
right? And I think that's where baseball is kind of messing it up, where if you look at golf, and I keep looking at them because there's a lot of really easy examples, they have people that teach like 150 different styles of the golf swing.
Right.
Whether it's stacked or torqued or tall, or
and
they
you
have
find
all
whatever works for you.
100%. And I think that's where baseball is going to be moving to, whether it's pocket whipstick or create energy, transfer energy, you know.
Mm-hmm. But it's all kind of the same. It's the same principles. It's just
exactly.
What style works for you. But that was the main thing I did, because before I was really heavy. You know, I had Tommy John before, so I was working on trying to get tension off my arm and using my body more. Learn about hip shoulder separation. That's another huge one that I talk about a lot, and I make my kids do, and I do drills for hip shoulder separation too. You know, just as simple as holding on to a wall and firing your hips without your torso firing with it. So I'm really big on landing, you know, firing your hips in the foot strike, staying close in that torso, and then letting the whip effect kind of happen, and not really being so much dropping down my back leg and kind of throwing with my arm. I'm more falling down the mound, firing my hips, and then I'm whipping through, kind of like Dominican style throwing a little bit. Yeah,
I can't believe
you know what I mean by that times.
Conyo finish.
Conyo finish. I love that. You know what that means.
Yeah. Listen, all 5 guys that I played that threw 100 were Dominican or
I'll be playing catch saying El Conyo, and people will be like, I have no idea.
Yeah, they don't. Nobody has a clue. And if you look, so our guys that do back legs, the way it was explained to me from one of the guys is that the back leg to them, like their entire country, they don't care what it does.
No, you whip it through. Might as well.
Exactly. So like Pedro Martinez being 180 pounds, throwing 97. If you watch him doing it,
that's how he did it.
You know,
back hip climbing up and over.
Yeah, and he's not even trying to do it. You know, he's just twisting and twerking so hard that it's kind of like this flag that just pops out of nowhere.
Yeah,
you know. And now it's Pedro Martinez's leg whip is what everybody, you know, the circle that we talk about.
Yeah, and I think that's the main thing with velocity is before I would land super low at my landing leg, so I would never be able to get in that position to whip my hips through like that, so my back leg could come through nice and free, like a Dominican or like someone whose back hip is flying through like that. So that's really the adjustment that I made, was not landing so low, landing more in a comfortable position, able to fire my hips through, and then my back leg was just firing through, and I felt like I was throwing my hips first, and then my arm was just whipping through after, instead of before I was more push and drive. And now it's more fall and just whip and just let it eat, and I can do it all day long. Like, it's a lot different than it was before. Before I get tired, now it's like I can fall into it, push at the last second, late twitch. Obviously finish is the most important part. Finish strong, and then you can do that over and over if you're using your body the right way.
So do you feel like with the Dominican guys that you've seen with that and how you were trying to throw, do you feel like that you have a long arm action or a short arm action?
I don't know, probably medium. I wouldn't say I'm short, and I wouldn't say I'm long. I feel like there's some parts that are long and some parts that are short. I feel like that's kind of how it should be.
Well, I will speak for you for a second. Like, Nick is very neutral with his shoulders, very much like a Garrett Cole. So where John will throw with a lot more positive angle, Nick will typically have a lot more success neutral. That's also plays into his arm slot and changeup as well, which is disgusting.
Yeah, I've
seen a bunch of videos of you throw too, but we just different style of pitcher, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
I'm
for
way
sure.
more of a downhill type of guy.
But one thing that's kind of same with us is the finish, and that's really what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But keep going.
Just real heavy front leg that just torques it.
What I kept on thinking was like how you've learned how to throw late, right? And both of you throw so late, and that's something that dude, I'm gonna call him. So Steven Strasburg was late. Like the Mark Pryor thing, that's late. That's a timing mechanism thing. Like that's a thing. But the benefit of being a little bit late is you throw harder and you have a ton more movement. Yeah. Right. But the negative of that is that it's a little bit more stressful.
It's dangerous.
So you have to find that sweet spot. But anyway, Steven Strasburg has changed his mechanics. He's cleaned his arm path up and he's on time now. And somebody was just ripping him. I'm like, dude, you're talking like it's 2013. Like this dude has figured it out. He is on time. And anyway, I don't. So anyway, you were just saying that you throwing late. Tell me a little bit more about like how did that velocity affect your off speed?
Well, my changeup especially was something I didn't have in college, and pro ball I started throwing a lot more. And before I would throw my changeup, 81, 82, and then when I started throwing it 85, 86, that's when it became a lot better for me, like almost a strikeout pitch. I was throwing up to 88 miles an hour, and because I was just throwing the crap out of it. Like before, I was trying to baby a changeup there. It's a changeup. You got to throw it over plate.
Can you be more specific about when this was before? Was this?
Oh man, this was last off season. I was working on changeups throwing off a mound. Yeah, and then in the games in St. Paul, I still wasn't really comfortable with it. And then last summer, like I really got comfortable with it last year. And then now I've just kind of hit the ground.
Do you have a ball? Could you show us your grip on what you're doing with it?
I do have a ball somewhere here. So you got a tennis ball.
I'd let you borrow ours. I'll let you borrow ours if you want it.
Here you go. Tennis ball. Okay, four seam, right? So I'm here. Wait.
Yeah, can't see it. Point it at the camera. We can't see it.
There you go.
Like put your fingers like this. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're running four seam. You're running four seam chain.
Yep.
Okay.
So my pointer finger's right on that seam. I'm pulling that seam down, John. Down more.
I can't see it. Oh, you've hooked it? I got
Yes,
you.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I'll open box to that thumb. So thumb's more at 6 o'clock. Yep. So I'm holding that thumb and I'm pulling that pointer finger at the same time.
Yeah. So you're trying to.
Yeah. To get it turned over.
And that gives you your. So that's interesting. So the way we talk about pronation is not talking about pronation. Is we talk about to create the side spin effect we want to pull it across, which is the same idea of what we're doing. Right. And we see a lot more success and way more lateral movement to it. I need to do this. I've been talking about it for a while. Have you ever thrown a blitz ball?
A blitz ball.
Yeah. Do you know what it is?
I've heard of that. Wait, remind me, blitz ball.
it's the green or yellow dimple ball, wiffle ball,
okay,
right?
Yes.
I think that's one of the best ways
I love
to teach
throwing
pitching.
those.
Oh my God, right? Isn't it so much?
I know, it's nasty.
You could teach spin and like so much in a more effective, safer way by just.
I feel like that's how I learned as a kid, was throwing wiffle balls to my
Yeah, I mean, I was
pitching against
the same exact thing
for sure.
and trying to throw curveballs they buy them. I hadn't
right when dad goes, don't throw curveballs, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, in dodgeball, I'd throw curveballs at people and try to knock their glasses off, like just just throwing as hard as I could when I was a kid.
Thanks for the soundbite. That's definitely going to be the soundbite to the podcast. Nick Belzer, Milwaukee Brewers. Dodgeball disqualified.
Sorry about that.
That's hilarious. Anyway, okay, so I like your velocity thing right there. The changeup, that's awesome. That being said, what else? So throwing wise, right? Let's go into like programming. You said that one of the things the kids, I know we got 5 minutes or so to this, but if we go over, it's no big deal as long as you're available.
Yep, I'm good.
So what do you feel like if you could give some advice to some kids as a general plan, as far as like how you got to 97 and what your experience that somebody can learn from?
So I would say commit to more than, 3 times a week playing catch, especially if you're trying to ramp up like for a season, off season. There's really no time taking off. I took off 4 weeks this off season and I was already throwing again. So one thing they need to get over is they need to throw all the time. And that's one thing people in the Midwest struggle with. And I did too when I was a kid. Like I would throw seasonally, but baseball is more kind of something that you need to do all the time. And that's one thing that, I'm doing a lot more of now, is trying to be a year-round thrower rather than a seasonal thrower like I have been growing up in the Midwest. So being able to throw all the time and being in that routine, committing to more than 3 days a week of pitching, not just baseball. Like I don't think about baseball necessarily. I think about pitching more. Like, when I wake up and when I go to bed, it's more pitching, not like baseball. So really just committing to what you're trying to do or what adjustments you're trying to make during that time, like just really getting into it and just being obsessed with it. Kind of like Conor McGregor. I love McGregor. He's cocky, but he said he's not talented. He's obsessed with the game. And I feel like that's really what it's about. Just becoming obsessed and committing and putting the time in and effort to really do that and believe in yourself the whole way through. Could
you give me a week for a young kid? Let's say Monday through Sunday. When you say play catch every day, do you have definitions for? I would say RPE every other day or anything.
2 days off, 1 day on, every other day if they can, that kind of thing in the off season, right? So it's throwing once or twice a week in the off season, like when they're not even throwing.
What is throwing? Are we long tossing? Are we short tossing? No. What are we doing?
Nope, just playing catch. Yep. It depends on when it is. Like I'm saying, you need to do it more often. So when let's say
off season. Let's say off season building, right?
Off season, get on a mound. Whenever I play catch, it's always I'm working on getting on a mound. Like it would, you build your arm up for a couple weeks and then it's get on the mound.
Maybe that's what I mean when you say play catch. Can you define that for us a little bit more?
Yeah. Okay. So
I just learned. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like to play catch to me, I thought we're just going to a field playing catch. So
this is kind of how it goes for me. Is I have an idea of how many bullpens I want to throw a week or what I want to get done for the week, and it depends on the day. So if I want to throw 4 times a week and 1 bullpen in, I'll find a day that I feel the best at, and I'm going to throw my bullpen that day. And the other days I'm playing catch, like I'm trying to feel good, doing my weighted ball, doing my routine, like kind of knocking down the percentage a little bit, obviously, for my bullpen days. Like after a bullpen, I'm not going to be throwing 100%, like doing the 50, 70, kind of the stuff that you guys do, but kind of just toned in to me personally. So building it back up to my bullpen. So I'm always thinking about my next bullpen or thinking about the next time I'll be on a mound, and that's how I play catch. So I'm always trying to get on a mound. So I'd say try to get on a mound. I mean, off season, I got a mound 2 or 3 times a week. I mean, don't tell anybody, but yeah, I would just go up there and do med
ball drills. It's only live right now.
Yeah, I would do med ball drills, like just feel the mound. Like I would do dry mechanics like all day just to feel the mound. You just want to
be on the slope.
Yes, and feel the mound, because that's one thing I learned is, you're not going to get any better from throwing from a flat ground. You will get better, but in the game you're going to be throwing from a slope, so you might as well try to learn how to do that.
When I was in Mexico, they thought I was crazy because I wanted to throw on the mound every day. And I'm
why not?
I got to feel the slope. I need to feel,
if you transfer your body the right way, it won't be that stressful on you. So
hey, and
that's the main goal
all the time. My favorite season that I had when I was in Mochis in winter ball in Mexico, I led the league in appearances and I had 5 starts. Like
I love it.
Just all
and
the time.
One thing I'll leave you guys with is, one thing I preach to my kids is their glove side. And that's one thing I see you guys do super well. K drill. I'm not going to say I was doing it before you guys were doing it, but I did that drill in college all the time.
I never seen it,
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Having my glove up and actually using your glove side. Because you think about a figure skater pulling in that leg when they spin, same kind of principles, like pulling in that glove tight and spinning your torso. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's extended to tight and, keep doing your thing at Cutternation. And I love it. Stay in touch. Hopefully we can do this again soon. And hopefully this coronavirus is over with. And hopefully everybody stays safe.
And if you, that's 100%. When you make it to San Diego, we will pitch Logic back and forth and have a little fun.
I can't wait. wait.
For sure. You got anything else?
No. Hopefully it'll be in a stadium.
For sure.
Right.
For sure. Yeah. If things go well as we'd hope, we'll be at the game for sure.
Yeah. Appreciate the support, guys. Appreciate
it. Definitely. You have any more questions for us?
No, just stay in touch. I mean, I love the things you guys are doing, like I said, and just keep doing it, keep influencing the youth the right way, and having fun with the game. Because
what's
a
your
lot of
Instagram?
people take it too serious.
Yeah. If people have a question about how you threw 97 and you came back from TJ, how do they get a hold of you?
Just at Nick Belzer, NickBelzer.
Just like it says on this.
Just straight up. Yep.
Awesome, dude. Hey, thank you so much for coming on. You're the best. Man, we'll keep in touch, and I got nothing else.
If you have a question, or anything for us, if you want to learn the cutter or have anything from there, don't hesitate to ask.
Sure. Yeah, we'll start putting in some work.
Definitely.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, thank you guys again. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Sounds good, and appreciate it. Good luck to you, and let us know if you need anything. All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
See ya.